How do you know so much? He said, well, I study a lot. I read a lot because I'm not a television person. I work with a girl who said, and this a couple years ago, she said she doesn't have a TV in her house. She said, I don't watch TV. She said, there's nothing on that I want to see. She said, I do a lot of reading and I do a lot of studying. And then she recently came back into the church and she said, a lot of stuff was clouding my mind and it didn't allow me to hear from God. And that's why a lot of people don't hear what their gifts are because they can't hear from him because it's cluttered with other things. We're more focused
Mhm.
on what's going on around us. And Lord knows, in the days and times that we're living in now, with all this foolishness going on in the last less than 60 days, if you know what I mean, you really have to be spiritually grounded, prayed up, and understand what's going on because there's just so much noise, if you will, going on. I make it my business on a daily to read God's word. Once you do that, it keeps you focused. Even if you, one of the sisters in the church told me about a book. It's the women's book of, what is it? It's the Bible in 52 weeks. And what I've now do is they break it down into different sections of the Bible. I found when I read it, sometimes it takes a little longer, but what I'm now doing is I'm listening to it, the audio for it, and it goes a lot smoother. And Lord knows it helps you with the pronunciation of some of those names. When we was in Genesis, I was like, this is great. And it sticks with you. It's like music. Sometimes you're humming songs and you're like, why am I humming that song? Because you heard it and it's in your mind. It's just like reading God's word. When you keep hearing it, it clicks. So, a lot of times churches are not large. And even when churches are large, you have 20% of the people doing 80% of the work. And that shouldn't be. Whatever your gift is, you have to look inside yourself and say, you know what? This is my gift. It's not for me or Reverend or somebody else to tell you what your gift is. God tells us what our gifts are. He also tells us what our gifts are not. Some people get into ministries for the wrong reasons. It's the popular ministry to be in. Some people are in ministries by default. For instance, if you're a woman, by virtue of you being a woman, you're in the women's ministry. But you shouldn't just be in the women's ministry because you're a woman. You should be in there working because we all have an idea, we all have a gift, and we all have a talent. And
Mhm.
whatever you do, you work together, especially the leaders. You're supposed to draw other people to these ministries. When somebody joins the church, it's best that you let them look around and get a feel for the different types of ministries. If we truly looked at the number of ministries we have in the church that's non functioning, and it has nothing to do with COVID, these ministries weren't functioning before COVID. If we really examine some of these ministries, you find a lot of duplicity of efforts. Some ministries are doing actually the same thing, but they're just being called by different names. So, you know, we have to look at that. We have, the gift of mercy. When people are hurting and people are in trouble, they need people to counsel them. Sometimes people are, down on their luck, what people call it. They need to be directed to different things. We have a ministry in our church that